The IAR-93 Vultur and J-22 Orao symbolize the Eastern example of the 1970s spirit for joint European aircraft development programs. However, this combat jet with two names was not designed to compete with the technological superiority of superpowers like their Western European peers. On the contrary, it was intended to be simple. Today, we're investigating the IAR-93 Vultur and J-22 Orao, the Eagle of the Balkans. The IAR-93 Vultur and J-22 Orao are not fancy combat aircraft with superior combat capabilities like the Jaguar or Kawasaki F1. Even though these three jets look similar in appearance, they were created for different operational requirements. To better understand the IAR-93 and J-22, we should look at the geographical and political conditions of the Socialist Republic of Romania and the Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. The Yugoslav partisans managed to expel the Axis forces from Serbia in 1944 and the rest of the Yugoslavia in 1945. With this success, Josip Broz Tito reunited Yugoslavia. However, Stalin did not want charismatic and strong leaders in the newly established communist countries of Europe. He made all of them satellites of the U.S.S.R. This aggressive policy caused the Yugoslav-Soviet split. Despite the communist regime, Tito established good relationships with the West. Since the Soviet-Chinese split, Romania opposed the hegemony of the U.S.S.R. Nicolae Ceausescu, who came to power in 1965, kept this policy. He kept Romania in the Warsaw Pact, but also began to de-Russification policy and established good relationships with the West. He even actively and openly condemned the 1968 invasion of Czechoslovakia. Why did the U.S.S.R., which severely punished the Hungarians and Czechoslovakians, not crush the defiance of these countries? Since a possible Soviet invasion of Yugoslavia would be costly and make this country more pro-Western, Moscow had to accept the status quo. It was enough for the U.S.S.R. that Yugoslavia would not be a part of NATO in a possible Third World War. Besides, this country had only borders with NATO's southern flank members. The fate of the next apocalyptic war in Europe would be sealed over Germany, not the Balkans. Romania had no borders with a NATO member. This country was geographically important only because it was positioned southwest of the U.S.S.R. It was also enough for the U.S.S.R. that Romania would not be with NATO in a possible Third World War. Romania and Yugoslavia had the opportunity to have more independent policies. In the late 1960s, Romania sought a new combat jet to replace its aging and obsolete MiG-15 and MiG-17s. Similarly, Yugoslavia needed the replacement of its Soko J-21 Yastrebs and the F-84 Thunderjets. So, they could begin negotiations for a joint multi-role subsonic fighter development program. It was a highly beneficial initiative for both countries since neither Romania nor Yugoslavia had enough money to execute such an ambitious program. Also, producing their own aircraft would make them more independent from Soviet equipment. On May 20, 1971, Romania and Yugoslavia signed the governmental agreements for the EUROM program to develop a combat jet together. It would be equipped with locally produced equipment and avionics compatible with Western components. The Romanian National Institute of Science and Technology and the Yugoslav Technical Institute of the Air Force executed the design and development phase. Initially, these two countries had planned to develop a single-engined aircraft capable of supersonic speeds. They had intended to acquire licensed production rights of a modern jet engine with an afterburner from the UK. However, London refused this request since Romania was a Warsaw Pact member. So, Romania and Yugoslavia had to settle with the good old Rolls-Royce Viper without an afterburner since Yugoslavia had already licensed production rights for this engine for the J-21s. They also intended to develop an afterburner for the Viper, but this work would be prolonged due to technical difficulties. So, the early production models, including the prototypes, did not have an afterburner. In 1972, the production of the first two prototypes began in both Romania and Yugoslavia. The main contractors were the IRAV Craiova and Soko. On the other hand, many other aviation companies in these countries, such as Irma Banasa, e.g. Gimbal and Udva were responsible for the production of different sections. Even though the Romanian and Yugoslavian variants were basically the same aircraft, these countries named them separately. Romania and Yugoslavia called the new jet IAR-93 Vultur and J-22 Orao respectively. Vultur and Orao mean eagle. The first prototypes of the IAR-93 and J-22 made their maiden flights on the same day on October 31, 1974 in their respective countries separately. The flight tests were not smooth. On September 20, 1979, the Romanian prototype was crashed due to the failure of both engines. After the incident, the engineers modified the combustion chamber. Similarly, the prototype of the two-seat variant was lost on November 24, 1977 due to tail flutter. The investigation after the incident led to reinforcing the aft fuselage. As a political show of force, Romania officially accepted the IAR-93 into service in 1975 even though the flight tests continued. The J-22 was introduced to the Yugoslavian Air Force Service in 1978. The IAR-93 J-22 is a close air support, ground attack, and tactical reconnaissance aircraft with secondary capability as a low-level interceptor. Their two-seat versions can also be used for advanced conversion and weapon training missions. The semi-monocoque all-metal fuselage is of aluminum alloy. The rear part is detachable to facilitate engine maintenance and change. The cantilever shoulder wings have a 35-degree sweep back at quarter chord and 43-degree at other leading edges. Hydraulically operated wide chord plane ailerons and semi-Fowler trailing edge flaps are of aluminum alloy. The pressurized cockpit is also fitted with air conditioning. The early single-seat Romanian production variants and single-seat Oraos have a canopy hinged at the rear. It is actuated electrically to open upwards. The later Vulturs and all two-seat versions have manually operated canopies opening sideways to starboard. The aircraft can be operated on grass or damaged runways. It can take off from a 1,500 meters distance with a full load. Thanks to its brake parachute, the IAR-93 J-22 requires a 670-meter runway for landing. The early production variants of the aircraft have two 17.79 kN non-afterburning Turbomecanica Orao Viper Mark 632-41R turbojets. This engine limited the jet's capability with its low thrust-weight ratio and high fuel consumption. Later versions are fitted with two Turbomecanica Orao Viper Mark 633-41, each rated 17.79 kN dry and 22.24 kN with afterburning. It is still a subsonic combat jet with new engines. On the other hand, on November 22, 1984, the Orao became the first Yugoslav-designed aircraft to break the sound barrier, albeit achieved in a shallow dive. Even though the combat jet initially had no defensive suite, the Serbian J-22s were fitted with the Iskra SO-1 radar warning receiver, chaff flare dispensers, and the P-10-6513 passive jammer pod later. The aircraft can also be equipped with an underbelly reconnaissance pod for tactical reconnaissance missions. The IAR-93 was the initial single-seat production version with the Viper Mark 632-41R turbojets. The single-seat MB variant had the fuselage of the IAR-93B but used the non-afterburning engine of the IAR-93A. The IAR-93B was fitted with the afterburning Viper Mark 633-41 engines. It also had an increased internal fuel capacity, upgraded hardpoints, and revised wing, including leading-edge extensions. Unlike the previous variants, the Bs did not have ventral fins, inboard wing fences, and forward fuselage strakes. The IAR-93DC and IAR-93DCB were the twin-seat versions of the A and B. The first Oraos are the single-seat IJ-22s, which are dedicated reconnaissance variants. The INJ-22A Orao 1 is the two-seat training version of the IJ-22. The J-22A Orao 1 and J-22B Orao 2 have similar characteristics as the IAR-93A and IAR-93B. The J-22Bs also have the Timson CSF build VE-120T head-up display instead of the Ferranti ISIS D282 gyro sight used on the previous variants. The NJ-22 Orao is the two-seat training version of the J-22B. The INJ-22M was a modified variant with a radar for naval reconnaissance missions, for which only one aircraft was built. During the late 2010s, Serbia launched a modernization program for its Orao fleet. This version is called the J-22M1A Orao or Orao 2.0 and has the Safran Sigma 95 inertial navigation system, a mission computer, multifunction displays, and a new IFF. It can fire locally developed modern air-to-ground weapons such as the LVB-250 laser-guided aerial bomb and the VR-VZ-200 missile. The new laser designator and thermal sensor on the modernized Oraos have 27 and 20 km range, respectively. The VR-VZ-200 has a 40 km range and can be launched from 23,000 feet. It has thermal imaging and TV guidance options. With these features, the VR-VZ-200 will dramatically increase Orao's ground attack capability. Currently, 3 two-seat and 1 single-seat aircraft have been modernized. This number will increase to at least 12. With the modernization, the Oraos will continue their missions until the 2040s. Serbia is the only current user of the J-22. Romania retired its IAR-93s in 1998 due to difficulties finding some spare parts following the outbreak of the war in Yugoslavia and the UN embargo. Besides, the end of the First Cold War changed the threat perception, and budgetary problems had already made the Vulturs unnecessary. Also, the aircraft once flew with the roundels of Bosnia and Herzegovina, the Republic of Serbian Krajina, Republika Srpska, Serbia and Montenegro, the Socialist Republic of Romania and Yugoslavia. The single-seat J-22B variant has a length of 14.9 meters, a wingspan of 9.3 meters, and a height of 4.52 meters. Its wing area is 26 square meters. The aircraft's empty weight is 5,500 kilograms, while its maximum takeoff weight is 11,080 kilograms. Two 22.24 kilonewton Turbomechanica Orao Viper Mark 63341 afterburning turbojet engines provide a top speed of Mach 0.96. The aircraft's range is 1,320 kilometers. Its combat radius is 522 kilometers. The Orao's service ceiling is 15,000 meters, in other words, 49,000 feet. The aircraft has two 23mm Gusha-23 autocannons and 5 hardpoints. It can carry nearly 2.8 tons of ordnance. The J-22B can be equipped with the AGM-65 Maverick and Grom-1 air-to-surface missiles, bombs, and rockets. The Romanian IAR-93B variant could also fire the A-91 and R-60 air-to-air missiles. The Romanian IAR-93 never saw combat. However, on December 23-24, 1989, during the Romanian Revolution, they performed 17 combat missions to intercept unidentified aerial vehicles. Also, some sources claim that the Vulturs conducted strikes on Securitate, the secret police agency of the Socialist Republic of Romania, targets, but there is no official confirmation. In 1991, the Yugoslavian J-22s conducted their first offensive action. The Yugoslav People's Army used them to strike targets in Croatia. One aircraft was shot down by Strela 2M manpads launched by the Croatian forces. The Bosnian Serbs inherited 9 Oraos and used them in the Bosnian War. 4 were lost, one of them with a friendly fire. The 105th Aviation Brigade of the Republic of Serbian Krajina also operated several ex-Yugoslav J-22s. In the 1999 Kosovo operation, the Oraos saw limited action due to NATO's overwhelming air superiority. Still, they managed to perform some combat missions. One J-22 was lost on March 25, 1999 in unclear circumstances. Besides, 11 aircraft were destroyed on the ground. Some Serbian sources claim that the Oraos shot down some Tomahawk cruise missiles during the war. The IAR-93 Vultur and J-22 Orao represent the defiance of two communist European countries against the mighty Soviet aviation industry during the First Cold War. Still, it was not created as a challenge to the technological superiority of combat jets of the time. The IAR-93 J-22 was designed for less intensive missions and their simplicity has made them a true Balkans eagle and legend. Thanks for watching our video, and please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click the bell button to be notified of our new videos. Also, you can now click the join button to support our channel. And as always, we would greatly appreciate all of your likes, comments and shares.